So this is Steve, and I'm here with Susanne Moorman Rowe. She is the I&M Director of Information, or I'm sorry, of Communications. I always get that wrong. Today the city issued another press release detailing their efforts to gather more information so they can do their studies and figure out what they want to do. What was missing from that press release?
Well, what was missing from the press release was the full context of the letters and the correspondence between I&M and between the city. The city sent us a letter claiming default some time ago, and in that letter, well, actually it's towards the end of August, but there was a deadline of October the 19th, and that was the time frame for us to respond to these claims. Now, we do not believe that we are in default of the lease, but we are in the process of responding to the city, and they asked for a lot of detailed information. There's a provision in the lease for a 60-day period to respond to any claims of default that might occur, and it gives I&M the opportunity to fix anything that might be in there that the city is referencing. So we're in the process of doing that. And so we're disappointed that they're publicly stating again that we're not cooperating when in fact we are, and there's a 2-month time frame, a deadline that they gave us, and we're working toward that deadline.
Which the 2-month deadline, if I'm thinking of this correctly, would be past the end of the lease anyway, wouldn't it?
No, the 2-month deadline would be October 19th of 2009. And the lease is set to expire February 28th, 2010. However, it does, again, there's some curious things about the letter claiming default and the deadline, but mostly the letter, because we have a mediation scheduled with the city on September the 23rd. And the purpose of the mediation was to resume negotiations so that, again, hopefully we could conclude the lease in a way that was satisfactory to everyone.
I know that you and I have talked about the issue a little bit before. I know one of the things that you mentioned was the fact that when you came in and took over the utility, that there were actually some customers and some infrastructure already there, and that's one of the questions has been, what information are you asking for, and is it on everything? Is it, how does that affect us with giving you proprietary information? How does that play into this?
Absolutely. At the time of the lease in 1974, there were roughly 64,000 customers in that area designated as the lease footprint. Roughly 31,000 of those customers were City Light. Some 34,000 were I&M customers at that time, always have never been City Light customers. So we had asked the city over the course of the summer to clarify for us what their intentions were. Were they interested in the original 31,000? Were they looking at just the remaining assets, a couple of circuits? What were they? We needed that clarification. In order to give very detailed engineering information, you need to have that clarification. In fact, this press release today that talks about a denial of access, and again, I'm troubled by the fact that there was selective editing of the letters that appeared in the press release. Because the letter that they sent to us asking for access to substations was very brief and did not give a lot of detail. We sent back a letter on July the 31st asking for clarification again of those details. And in that request for clarification of details, we said at the very end of the letter, we said that until we got that clarification, we would not be able to schedule tours. I believe that's the part that they excerpted in the press release. The final sentence in the letter says that there are 5 remaining city-owned substations that can be accessed upon appropriate advance notice, subject to any and all safety restrictions. And then upon completion of these tours, we can consider whether any other tours will be conducted. And again, those subsequent tours would be on I&M owned and built facilities. But we absolutely said that you can schedule these tours, and that's the full context of the letter.
So if the city were to take over the utility at the end in February, those I&M built facilities, would those stay I&M? Would they go to the city?
Well, again, first of all, because of the territorial law in 1980, which gives I&M the exclusive right to serve those customers, the whole issue of how they could serve any customers would have to be determined first. And again, the law is in place. There have been attempts to change the law before, and they have not been successful. But to inspect the facilities, they would need to first start by inspecting their original city-owned I&M operated facilities, and then we would all know the scope of what they were looking at, and we could discuss subsequent visits to other facilities. But it's very misleading to say that we're denying them access. This letter clearly states that they can have access to those facilities.